In a season that saw the Milwaukee Brewers win 93 games and make the playoffs for the sixth time in the last 7 years, it once again ended in heartbreak for the crew. The Brewers once again go one and done in the wild card, this time against the New York Mets. Let's take a look at what the possible future repercussions of this loss can be and see what is holding this team back from postseason success and if they have what it takes to finally get over the hump. Since 2018, the Brewers have only won a total of 1 playoff series, and since 2019, in a total of 5 playoff series, they have only won 2 games. In recent times, the Brewers are always a good team, but they can never get over the hurdle and make a decent postseason run. They have never had that magical feel to them. The only season they did was in 2018 when they had the NL MVP Christian Yelich lighting up the league, Josh Hader closing games and winning game 163 against the Chicago Cubs. This team just had that feel to them, and it led them all the way to the NLCS, where they ultimately lost to the Dodgers in 7 games. 1 game away from the World Series, and since that moment, they have never been close again. They constantly blow leads and lose games that they have no reason losing. In 2019, they blew the game against the Washington Nationals in the wild card. In 2020, they got swept by the Dodgers. In 2021, they lost in the NLDS to the Braves in 4 games in a series that they got shut out in 2 of them. In 2023, they blew both games against the Diamondbacks in the wild card, a team that had a lower payroll than us during that time. In the current year of 2024, we just lost to the Mets in the wild card in 3 games. In the deciding Game 3, we had a 2-0 lead after back-to-back home runs, with elite closer Devin Williams ready to close the game in the 9th. He ended up walking Francisco Lindor and giving up a hit to Nimmo. Pete Alonso then proceeds to hit a game-winning 3-run home run, and the Brewers lose in dramatic fashion 4-2. The Brewers are set to lose shortstop Willy Adames in free agency and probably trade Devin Williams at some point before he becomes a free agent. In the wildcard era, 23 out of 30 teams that have won the World Series ranked in the top half of MLB's payroll. During that time, 21 out of 30 ranked in the top 10 for payroll on opening day. Only 3 of the 30 teams started in the bottom half on opening day. The 2017 Astros, the 2015 Royals, and the 2003 Marlins. The 2017 Astros and the 2015 Royals both made mid-season trades to reach the top half of payroll by the end of the season. The Florida Marlins are the only team to win the World Series after ranking in the bottom 10 of payroll. This has been going on even before the wild card era, as the Toronto Blue Jays of 1992 and 1993 both ranked first and third in payroll. So with this information, does having a higher payroll equate to postseason success? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Sometimes spending money does not work out, as shown in recent times with certain teams like the Padres, but it sure gives you an advantage. Some low payroll teams that have had major success include the Brewers, Rays, and the Oakland Athletics. It is amazing to see these teams in recent history have so much success with a smaller payroll, but that success is very limited. Since 2000, the Athletics have made the playoffs 11 times and have only made it past the ALDS once. The Tampa Bay Rays since 2008 have made the playoffs 9 times and made the World Series twice, but in 2020 it took a COVID playoffs to help them get there. The Brewers since 2018 have only won 1 round in the playoffs while making the playoffs 6 out of the last 7 years. Plenty of Brewer fans constantly point out Mark Attanasio as one of the major problems causing the Brewers to lose in the playoffs, with fans calling him cheap. But is he really? I understand that this is a business and you need to make your money, but the one time we actually spend and get players at the deadline, we were one game away from the World Series. Nowadays, the Brewers just get cheap utility infielders and call it a day. Attanasio is so cheap that he wanted to make our Gold Glove right fielder Sal Frelick into a third baseman so that he doesn't have to go out and pay someone to play third, and he wanted to possibly move Bryce Terang to shortstop, who is also a Gold Glove and Platinum Glove winner. I completely understand having players that can play multiple positions, as having versatility greatly helps when injuries start to pile up. But to make a permanent move, that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Is this some kind of ploy so that these guys don't rack up Gold Gloves and you don't have to pay them as much when they hit free agency if we want to keep them around, or what? What is the point? I kind of believe that may actually be the case. Remember, this is the same guy that a lawsuit is alleging that he stole sand from a Malibu beach for his beachfront property. If that doesn't scream cheap, I don't know what does.
A billionaire businessman in Malibu is being sued for allegedly stealing sand. A lawsuit filed by a neighbor accuses Mark Attanasio of using excavators to relocate sand from Broad Beach to his house as part of a construction project. Attanasio is the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers. The lawsuit also says the construction project has restricted public beach access and exposed marine life to hazardous waste. Attanasio's lawyer argues his client's construction company has been compliant with all of its permits.
Also, in 2021, Corbin Burns won the Cy Young Award, and the Brewers took him to court over a measly $750,000. Our reasoning was that he was one of the big reasons why we didn't make the playoffs in 2022, and that hurt our relationship with Corbin. Who knows, maybe if we actually respected him and cared about the player, he could possibly be a Brewer right now, and maybe he would take a pay cut to stay here, but after that, he was gone, and that is a horrible look for this team. If we did that to one of the best players in the league, why would players want to come here in free agency or stick around if we're just going to trade them or screw them over just because of dollar signs? That to me is absolutely fucking ridiculous. One thing that I think could possibly help the Brewers in the long run is Mark Attanasio being the owner of Norwich City FC. As of June 12, 2024, Attanasio was in talks of possibly purchasing 25% of legendary Portuguese soccer club SL Benfica. Attanasio going into the soccer world can be decent long-term help for us as he makes more money with these teams, but at the same time, it could possibly hurt us. Attanasio has to put money into Norwich City, and who says 1 year he has to decide where to put money into, and the Brewers ultimately suffer from this. In English soccer, there is promotion and relegation. What if to secure a promotion to the Premier League, Attanasio has to spend more money at the transfer window, or spend money to make sure Norwich does not get relegated? If a club is relegated into the lower tiers, they lose tons of money, and that can harm Attanasio and the Brewers. But if it works out, he can sell players and make more money to use on the Brewers' payroll on any year he decides to finally go all in. It will be interesting to see what happens. The Brewers probably do not have to worry about payroll for a while, as they have cheap control over plenty of very good players, and they have some very promising pitching prospects waiting in the wings to be brought up. Jacob Misiorowski is hopefully going to be up at some point next year, and the return of Robert Gasser will help tremendously in the second half as he returns from a torn UCL. But with these young players coming up, if we want to make a push, Attanasio should seriously consider opening up his pocketbooks at the deadline. I'm sure the Brewers will be good in the coming years and continue to make the postseason, but I do not expect them to stray from the current trend of disappointing playoff exits. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any other video suggestions, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.